What's going on, good people? So tonight I wanted to talk about combat accuracy versus bullseye accuracy and kind of when each one might be applicable to your situation or to your training. So a lot of times when people talk about accuracy, they're talking about sub-MOA groups or just stacking rounds directly on top of each other. They're talking about bullseye accuracy. It's pretty much accuracy for the sake of accuracy, whether or not you're seeing how accurate your weapon platform is, or you're seeing how accurate you as the shooter can be at a particular distance. Nothing wrong with that at all. It does have its place. But typically when people go to the gun range, they are training for self-defense, but they're practicing bullseye accuracy. That can be a problem because in self-defense, there's this time limit that you typically have, whether the threat is advancing on you, whether you're moving the cover, threat is moving the cover, whatever it is. Typically you don't have all day to line up your sights, get a good trigger press, think about your breathing, your stance, your grip and everything else, and then press off around, right? So all those things are under a time constraint. So with practical accuracy, it's typically just accuracy that's good enough. It's practical, right? It's going to get the desired effect or likely to give the desired effect. So bullseye accuracy, you're trying to stack those rounds. With practical accuracy, especially when you're talking about the human body, the anatomy, each new round, if it doesn't hit the exact same hole, is going to create more damage. More damage is more likely to stop an attacker if you are impacting them enough with enough energy and doing enough damage internally, right? So for a target, you could use something like this. This is just an 8-inch circle. Not a big guy. If you can place your rounds in the circle at speed, which is important because you can't take 5 minutes to take your shots. You can't take 1 minute to take 10 shots or whatever it is. But under some time constraint, that when you're training, that time constraint should keep shrinking down to get to a point where the wheels just fall off, and then you practice from there and start to improve. Or you can use something like this. I think this is 4x6, and it's just a shipping label that I got from Amazon. You can get them real cheap. Place that on there, and there's your target there, right? Because when you're talking about self-defense, we're talking about hits to the high thoracic cavity, right? There's more important organs kind of in this area, up in the upper chest, more than you can hit someone in the stomach, but up here is going to be more likely to stop an attacker. So again, that's under a time constraint though. So you see someone post a target in a lot of these online groups, and it'll be hits around here. And sure enough, someone will say, that person's having a bad day. That would have stopped them. Maybe, but then maybe not. Because how long did it take that person to place hits all over the target, right? Was that done in 2 seconds? Was it done in a minute, right? So as you can imagine, if someone is attacking, you probably don't have a minute. You might not even have 5 seconds, depending on how close they are. Let alone 3. So things typically happen really fast. So if you're someone that's practicing for self-defense, so you want to practice combat effective hits or practical accuracy, then you're going to be aiming for the high thoracic cavity, and you're going to want to do that at speed. So if you're only shooting 1 round a second, or 1 round every 2 seconds, 3 seconds, you're probably doing yourself a disservice unless your range just has some kind of restraints where you can't shoot any faster, in which case I would say find another range if you can. If not, I mean, it is what it is. You can't, obviously, if you get kicked out, you can't practice at all. But there's a big difference between bullseye accuracy and practical accuracy. So when you're training for self-defense, one, throw away those, I don't have any, throw away those big targets. You don't need a huge target. You're not shooting, you're not aiming for someone's arms. You're not aiming down for their wrists. You're aiming in just an area. So you could even just take a piece of paper and fold it in half. That's plenty, right? You don't need anything fancy, because that large target can often give people a false sense of confidence because they're hitting the target, but you're not really hitting it in an area that's going to give you the desired result, right? Especially not quickly. So you want to use something smaller and then give yourself less time to do so, whether that's also coming from the holster, or if you can't draw at your range, just a compressed or a high ready, and then you can just press out from there. But it is important to know the difference between practical accuracy and bullseye accuracy. So again, if you're training for self-defense, Practical accuracy will be good enough. You do not have to have each round impact the same spot, and you're going to want to do that at speed. So give yourself a time constraint. And then once you can master that, either move the target back or give yourself less time. Either way, I don't want to ramble on too long. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Y'all be safe.
Give me the 14 when it's 14. We kill 14. What you know about AR-15? The class 16. When you know the start steam.